Sherrone Moore has been fired. He's been fired over a sex scandal at the University of Michigan. Sherrone Moore has been the head coach, I think, for 2 full seasons at the University of Michigan. He was personally kind of appointed or made the successor of Jim Harbaugh by Jim Harbaugh. You can remember the last year Jim Harbaugh was at Michigan. They won the national championship. Jim Harbaugh faced a suspension in 4 or 5 games, I can't remember. And Sherrone Moore, the offensive line coach, the offensive coordinator, filled in and was the acting head coach on game day in that year that they won a national championship. And then when Jim Harbaugh left for the National Football League to go back to the National Football League and coach the Los Angeles Chargers, Sherrone Moore was elevated to permanent head coach at the University of Michigan. He's blown himself up. He's blown in an event that we're calling the double-stuffed Oreo. We've seen sexual scandals for college football coaches and for coaches. We've seen this for many years. This one here is special, though, because Sherrone Moore got fired yesterday and ended up in police custody because he melted down and crashed out. This is one of the most incredible crash outs we've ever seen since Bobby Petrino at Arkansas crashed out on a motorcycle and blew his head coaching job up at Arkansas. I don't know. We'll get into that with Steve Kim here in a minute, the history of these sex scandals. But what happened to Sherrone Moore, absolutely amazing, breathtaking. You feel sorry for him. You want to laugh at him. You wonder, like, how can you be this stupid? Well, men have been being this stupid for a long, long time. A long time. Thinking with their smallest head. Getting promoted to a position of power, authority, and wealth, and using that power, authority, and wealth to have extramarital affairs or to participate in illicit sexual activity. Here's the thing, though. If he had not lost to Ohio State on Thanksgiving weekend, Sherrone Moore would likely still be the head coach at the University of Michigan because we have uncovered that Michigan has known about this illicit affair with a staffer that he okayed, consented to, commissioned, like a 50% pay raise. This woman went from, I think, making $48,000 a year to making $90,000 a year for being some sort of recruiting assistant or staffer for Sherrone Moore, who's married, I think has 2 kids. He's banging his assistant and traveling around with her, obviously under the auspices of football business. They've been pictures floating around on Twitter of Sherrone Moore and her walking around the campus together in Ann Arbor, Michigan. This stuff has been going on and being speculated about for at least weeks, if not as long as a year. Let me remind some of you all that I made my sports writing bones early on in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I covered the Fab Five basketball team, covered the University of Michigan football team in the early 1990s for 2 years, lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan. My college football head coach, Paul Shadell, was a longtime Bo Schembechler assistant coach at the University of Michigan. Our entire Ball State program was based on the Michigan Bo Schembechler philosophy. We had painted in our offices or in the locker room facilities, "Those who stay will be champions." That's a slogan from Bo Schembechler and Michigan. My connection to Michigan, and let me go a little step further, Brady Hoke, former Ball State football player, former Ball State head coach, dear friend of mine, someone that I helped along with Bubba Cunningham, now the athletic director at the University of North Carolina. Bubba Cunningham's first job as an athletic director, his full-time athlete, was at Ball State. First thing he did, this isn't bragging, this is just me telling you my history and my connection to the University of Michigan. First thing he did was call me, hey, help me identify Ball State's next football coach. And it was Brady Hoke. And Brady Hoke and I became fast friends and very close. And so when he went to San Diego State and then elevated to the head coach at the University of Michigan, I was along for the ride. I have a long history dating back to the 1990s, the early 1990s, all the way through Brady Hoke's tenure at Michigan, being very closely associated with the University of Michigan. You can go back to again, Paul Shadell recruiting me. He first came in 1983 or 1983 and recruited our football center of my high school team, a kid named David Herrick. And that's when he first became aware of me and then circled back the next year when he's the head coach at Ball State and began recruiting me to Ball State University. The Michigan, I joke over Twitter about me and the University of Michigan, and I joke over Twitter about it. Yeah, I played quarterback for Bo Schembechler at Michigan before transferring to Ball State. Anyway, I got a long history with Michigan. Know all the people involved. This scandal has been covered up for at least a month, if not a year. The rumors are, and it's circulated all over social media, and people have been talking about this behind the scenes, that Sherrone Moore impregnated this woman. This is what is being speculated and talked about and has been talked about for months. Impregnated this woman, talked her into ending the pregnancy, and then commissioned this pay raise for this woman. And now that he's lost to Ohio State, now it all comes out and Michigan has their excuse for moving on from Sherrone Moore. Let's go another layer here and let's deal with what's really being discussed, is that Sherrone Moore was an unqualified DEI hire from the jump, that there's no way he should have succeeded Jim Harbaugh, that Jim Harbaugh, having previously coached at for the San Francisco 49ers, having been the head coach of Colin Kaepernick, Jim Harbaugh is a great guy, a great coach, from my understanding, a great Catholic. But he's got a little tiny bit of woke in him. And he wanted to promote a black assistant coach to the head coach at the University of Michigan. And so this whole thing connects to a lot of larger topics that we talk about on this show constantly. And we were just talking about earlier this week, last week, the week before, all of this forced DEI stuff and how it's blowing up in our face, and we need to cut it out. Ward Manuel, the black athletic director at the University of Michigan, he's coming under scrutiny and criticism because the rumors and the reports are, again, he's known about Sherrone Moore's irresponsible misbehavior for months, if not a year, covered it up, tried to sweep it under the rug. I want to start by reading a tweet from a guy named Robert Carrion. Robert Carrion. Back in the 1970s, he was a junior college quarterback recruit by Bo Schembechler to the University of Michigan. He never played at Michigan, but he was a scholarship quarterback at Michigan. He stayed very close to the program. He's someone that I spoke to this morning. He's very connected to the program, very connected to people that are super connected to the program. And I believe this is on December the 2nd. He tweeted out on December the 2nd, U of M scandal being covered up by DEI, AD Ward Manuel, and Board of Trustees. Sherrone Moore, first-time head coach and DEI hire, impregnated office employee. all actively covered up by the above. Fire all of them. Clean it all up, including hiring by skin color and not merit. My source is 100%.